Okay, hello everybody. Happy Wednesday. I'm just going to share my screen to start. I am Rend. I have Marianne here with me. I think both of our screens are pinned, and I'm so excited that we get to chat today about a topic that is very dear and near to both of our hearts, relationship with food and addictive cycles. So I'm going to take this image down in a second, but just to show you the agenda for today and just some of the topics that we'll be covering, even though we'll try to keep it as brief as possible. I'll just let Emanuela in. So we're going to be hitting on addiction and co-occurring disorders, all or nothing mentality, spiritual connection, balance, and Isagenix, and then just a little bit of a tool. Hi, Manuela, you're right on time. We're just getting started. And just a tool that we created that is to recognize, reach, and reflect when you have those moments and you're triggered and wanting to get into those addictive or emotional eating. So I'm gonna just stop sharing the screen here so you can look at our lovely faces. 1 second. And give me 1 second here. Here's my image. Okay, my image went away, but that's okay. I have it on my phone here. So just going to start by sharing a little bit of my story and my journey. And I'm just going to mute you, Manuela. Sorry, there we go. And so for me, when I first hear of addiction, it comes in a few different forms, and it's different for each of us. But for me, I battled with disordered eating and just food in general for some time. And I like to think of it as this God-filled hole, whether you believe in God or otherwise, but just this God-filled hole that I try to fill with anything other than God or spirituality, and be it food. For me, a big one was marijuana, and it was a way to suppress and escape, and essentially use externals to try to numb what may be going on inside. And so I leaned on different sources and different things to try to cope, and food is definitely one of them. Now, in a little bit, I'm going to get Marianne to share about her journey with food, just because it's something that's a bit more recent that she's been dealing with. And for me, over the years, I tried different diets and just, was not happy with how my body looked and just constantly had that internal battle. So one thing with co-occurring disorders that I like to explain is you have the underlying mental illness, be it anxiety, depression, ADHD, what have you, and then the co-occurring disorder, which would be the substance, be it alcohol, marijuana, food, and one helps the other. And also for me, weed exacerbated the underlying mental illnesses. So I really, in order to identify, it wasn't just, like to do a diet, it took a lot of internal work. And that's why I'm really passionate about sharing part of that. Now, where Isagenix comes into the picture is that I would, when say I'm having a low day, years ago, I struggled a lot with depression, and it perpetuated that cycle because I wouldn't be able to say put together a plate of food for myself. So I had the shakes as an easy access to just throw some water and mix it together, so that didn't perpetuate the cycle of eat bad, feel bad, repeat. So I'm really, really thankful for the tools and the resources that Isagenix has in place. And I think the all or nothing mentality is really, really dangerous, because it was, I'll either do it perfectly or not do it at all. So I would go where I'm gonna start this quote unquote diet on Monday. So then I would binge eat until Monday. Monday comes, I start eating healthy. I have one hiccup, so then I fall off the way again, binge eat and repeat. So that was kind of the cycle. And while, of course, different types of therapy and other type of internal work helped, where Isagenix fit that picture is that I would be like, okay, I recognize the cycle. I'm just going to do a cleanse day, reset, I have my morning shot and my cleanse, my morning shot and my shake, and just get that routine and get those healthy habits back without it being too complicated. So that's one piece of it. And that all or nothing mentality was part of that perfectionism. Was I would use weed to give me permission to binge eat, or to give me permission to eat that forbidden food. And that's why I'm really I preach like balance and not being restrictive, because now if I want that burger, I'm going to give myself permission to have that burger, knowing that the rest of my day I'm eating well and nourishing my body. So yeah, I just wanted to, Marianne, I know we work together, and Marianne hired me as a coach to really look at marijuana as well as food. And food is something that has been more recent. And so I just wanted her to speak a little bit and share her story.
Thank you so much. Can you hear me okay? Because I haven't got my AirPods in. Yeah, we're good. Sweet. And I have some notes here if I keep looking down, guys. So my story is I have been on some kind of diet or restrictive eating since I was about 7 or 8, like really young, primary school. And it kind of started from there. I have done any kind of diet you can think of: Atkins, cereal diet, where you literally eat a bowl of cereal for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. 1 meal a day diet, South Beach diet, like more controlled things like Weight Watchers, things like that. But through that whole time, my substance of choice, or the thing that would always pull me to it, was chocolate. So my trigger and my focus for my kind of relationship with food and my emotional eating was stress. So in response to any kind of stress, physical stress, mental stress, emotional stress, whatever it might be, and then my weapon of choice, my food of choice, was chocolate. And for me, I could eat a crazy amount of chocolate in one sitting. I would know no moderation. I would think nothing of inhaling like big old bars of chocolate. Other stuff I could take or leave, not so bad, but chocolate for me was the main thing. Now, that is something that I've been struggling with, I'm 32 now, so I'll let other people do the maths, for a long time. And it isn't something that goes away overnight, but it is something that has drastically, and I can't say this enough, drastically reduced since working on some of the tools that we'll go through after I've done my little speech, and also through the Isagenix supplements and the structure that I have had through Isagenix, and obviously the wonderful coaching from Red. So to talk you through a bit of some background and some things that have helped me kind of along the way. It was actually from a YouTuber, I think I heard this. She spoke about how emotional eating, or any kind of substance choice really, be it weed or food, because I did used to also go towards weed when I moved to Canada, unfortunately. Similar with alcohol, there's a big binge drinking culture in the UK. It's very normal to just go out and drink to so much excess. I know not everyone drinks on this call, but whatever your substance is, it's whatever it is you're using to cope. And the example this YouTuber gave was, if you think of yourself as the adult and you also have the child aspect of you, and the child is the one that is making the decision of, I feel upset, I feel stressed, someone said that thing and I feel really embarrassed, someone was mean to me, whatever it is, I need comfort. They're reaching for the thing. And so when you reach for, that substance, be it food, chocolate for me, or weed or alcohol, whatever, or promiscuous behavior, even, it can be a number of different things, whatever is your thing you turn to, that is your child's way of reaching out and looking for comfort. And where you can help recover from that, and where you can start to build a healthier relationship with food, is stepping into it as an adult. So adult you is coming to the forefront now. Adult you is making the decisions. Adult you is saying, look, like you would to a child, like anyone here that has either kids, like Mina, you have kids, when you're watching this, people that have nieces and nephews, like Amber, I know you have a niece, I have a nephew. How you would talk to a child, it would be like, it's okay that you feel sad, like, you know, but it's not okay. Like, chocolate's not going to make you feel better. Like, what you need to do is call a friend, you know, do this other like activity, and we'll go through some of the alternatives. And for me, even just having the awareness of like, so I can't just not control myself around chocolate. Like, I'm not this like crazy person who has zero self-control. I started going towards chocolate and going towards other substances because I wasn't having my emotional needs met in other ways. So this kind of culminated the work that I was doing with Rend. It honestly, it did take me around 6 months, but to put this into perspective, and there's ongoing work. To put this into perspective, I have been trying, and I've been going through traditional therapy for emotional eating. I've been trying to get on top of this 10 to 15 years, honestly. It's been a really long time, and this has been the main thing that's helped me. So to whatever degree you might be suffering with it, I am confident that these things will help. So a bit about my story. Last year, I reconnected with my faith. I reconnected with Christianity, and I started to build a relationship with God. And I know not everyone on this call is necessarily coming from a Christian or religious background, and that's completely fine. But I guess I'm giving it from my perspective and where I'm coming from. So most people are aware of Lent, like in Christianity, and the tradition of kind of sacrificing something, giving something up for the 40 days that Jesus did. And so for me, I wanted to challenge myself this year, and I gave up chocolate, my main thing. And let me tell you, I have not had no chocolate like each day, probably since I was a baby. Whenever your mum starts to give you chocolate, like, I have had chocolate every day since then. Like, genuinely, it was a problem. And I gave up chocolate. And I was, at first when I did it, I thought, you know, day one, day two, can I actually do this? Is this something, you know, that I could actually give up and not have day to day? But I did. And it was transformative. And whether, you know, some of that was my faith and the fact that I was giving it over to God at this point and giving it over to someone else other than me could have been a factor. But as I went through the days, like as the days ticked on, I started to break that cycle that Rend was talking about. I started to break the cycle of, I eat the chocolate, I feel bad, my blood sugar spikes, it goes down, I want more chocolate, I then feel ashamed, I then beat myself up more, I then eat more chocolate. And I was saying to Rend, like during this time, I was saying to my husband, you know, my blood, I'm like this, I'm level, like I'm not experiencing the ups and downs of emotional eating, I'm feeling more and more capable as each day goes on. And the urges and the cravings and stuff dissipated. And like, that makes sense to me. As you know, unhealthy foods, they're the foods that are going to light up our brain, they're going to light up the addictive centers, high sugar, high salt, high fat. Like, that's what, you know, biology and research tells us, right? So I almost like gave myself permission to say, like, you know, it's okay, like I wasn't, you know, like completely out of control. This is a normal response. Like, my body has, my brain has made this association, talking back to the child thing, and B, like biologically my body has made this association. Like, I'm giving it chocolate every time I'm stressed, it's an uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah,
I get a bit of chocolate, I can chill. And yeah, I'll stop here, sorry.
no, that's
You want to
great.
say something?
And what it sounds like, no, amazing, thank you. And what it sounds like is that instant gratification. And sometimes
Yes.
we go from the trigger straight to, okay, this, I don't feel good and I need something to make me feel better. And so
Mm.
instead of taking that pause, and another piece you touched on is emotional regulation. Some of us grew up in an environment where we don't talk about our feelings, we don't process our emotions. So this, for me, it took me to a much later, like as an adult, to really be like, oh, this didn't make me feel good, and process my emotions. When I didn't know that, I would be triggered, and then I would lean on whatever to get rid of this icky feeling. But sometimes we
Yeah.
need to feel that icky feeling, and let it pass and process it. And so I wanted to ask you a question, Marianne, because when we think of addiction, and this is any, I've been part of a 12-step program in the past, and of course food is just one of it, but there's a couple different avenues. There is an avenue where you're able to substance reduce, and then another one where you cut that substance altogether. So for me, for example, marijuana is a non-negotiable. I just, it's not a part of my life. However, we need to eat, and there are certain ones where I know marijuana just doesn't serve me, so it's not something that I want to build this healthy relationship with it. But food nourishes me, and I love food, and it's my love language, so it is something that I want to build that relationship with. So when you spoke of chocolate, because a lot of us, for me, for example, certain things I just won't leave in the house, and if I'm going to have that treat, I'll go and buy it or what have you. So for you, you didn't have chocolate during Lent, but how have you been able to manage that after, when now Lent is over?
So you kind of touched on it. I've gone through a few different phases with it, and as I said, I've been having struggles with this for like 20 years or 15 years or something. So it's not going to go away like overnight. It's not going to go away, and it's something you have to work on anyway, like as you go on, right? I don't have chocolate in the house because I will eat it. And like once I start on that train, like I said, I start it, and then I've almost got to go through, it's like a withdrawal almost, like I've got to go through that cycle of like my blood sugar spiking, and oh yeah, that was nice, I'll have some more, and before I know it, I'm eating chocolate every single day again, and I've completely fallen off the wagon. So does that mean that I will never have chocolate again in my life? No, I love chocolate, clearly. Like, I'm not sounding like a chocoholic, but I do. And like, life is for enjoying it. And I am also a foodie. Like, I love to cook, I love to bake. Chocolate is a big part of that. Just because I don't have chocolate in the house doesn't mean that I will never eat it. So I have it on like special occasions. I have it, if I go out with friends, like a dessert, if I fancy it, then I will be perfectly fine to do that. But for me, it was about controlling the environment and understanding my trigger. So not only trigger of the food and whatever it was, the environment trigger and the emotional trigger. So depending on how I'm feeling, like if I'm in a stressed mood, I won't eat chocolate. Like if I'm in a it depends on the mood I'm in, basically. And for me, eating at home, like I ate most of my binging and my, emotional eating was at home. It used to be in the car when I would drive, but I don't drive in Canada. Or like when I was in bed, like I would like night eat, and so straight away I removed it from those scenarios. So that's just another thing I do anymore. I'm not gonna lie, it takes time. Like this is something, depending on how much of a thing this is for you, it does take time. But like with anything, if you approach it day by day, if you understand, like even if you make mistakes, like you learn from the mistakes later, and that's again what the tool is, or the system that Ren's put together, that will kind of talk through that. Bit of a rambly answer, you can tell. But
no, thank you. That's perfect. And one thing is, with you saying like not keeping it around the house and whatnot. It's interesting because sometimes I will have chocolate in the house, and when I feel like I am grounded emotionally, I have our basics, my 8 hours of sleep. Good nutrition throughout the day, just in tune with what's happening. If something happens throughout the day, I talk about it, process it. I'm doing my morning routine, my prayers, my journaling. Then that chocolate, it's not going to trigger me as much. So the basics, before we just get into this 3 simple step that we came up with, is just the basics, your sleep, your hydration, just basic self-care. But now the three steps, I call them the 3 R's, just invented them. They are recognize, reach into the toolbox, and reflect. Okay, so this is when, say, we're going to give an example. Number one, recognize the trigger. So I'm super stressed. My kids are, I don't have any kids, but my kids are just, giving me, stressing me, or I'm having a really stressful day at work. I don't feel good. I want to veg out on the couch and just eat a bag of chips. So, recognize. So, with recognizing is like just halt, because typically we want to just act and that instant gratification that we spoke about. So first, that halt, just stop before that effort switch goes off where, nope, I just want to feel better. Okay, so that's number one. The second one is reaching into that toolbox. So there's a few different things, and sometimes if this will help you, especially when you've just done that halt, if you have it written down on a piece of paper, especially at the beginning. For me now, I know what to go to, but if you put it in a little box, for example, like self-soothing, taking a bath, calling a friend, praying. But my favorite one specifically towards addiction is playing the tape forward. So you know what? I'll put my ex-client on the spot. Give us an example of playing the tape forward.
I blimmin' love this tip. I've never really thought about it till you told me. Play the tape forward is how it sounds. So you imagine that you already do the thing. So for me, I imagine, I get home from work stressed. I imagine, okay, so I've gone to the shop and I've bought a crap ton of chocolate and I've eaten it all. How do I feel? How do I feel about myself? I feel sick. I feel disappointed. I feel shame. I'm going to step myself back a bit. I'm going to go back into the cycle. You basically imagine like you've already done it, and how will you feel? What will the impact be? And almost just doing that, it like gets you out of that emotional like cycle and emotional response. Sorry, Amber just messaged. Like it gets you out of your head basically to kind of step back and almost look at it from those adult shoes, like I said, of okay, yeah, but right now I'm in it because I'm in the kid mode and I just need to escape, or I need to make myself feel better. Adult mode is okay, yeah, but if you actually do that, what will happen and how will you feel?
Yeah, perfect. So, and that's a great way just to think of, okay, to not deal or be a slave to your impulses and just act on it. Another thing I love to do is writing, and this can be not just with food. Say you're triggered and you're angry, and your initial response is just to write to this person and tear them a new one. Another way is grabbing your journal and getting that out before projecting that onto someone else. So maybe it's journaling. I've had people in this group message me being like, I just want to eat everything. And it's talking it out. Like, and maybe the other thing is, maybe at the end of all of this, you are going to have that chocolate, or you are going to have that bag of chips, but you're going to come to it from a place where it's, hey, okay, if I do this, I'm not going to feel bad. That's okay. I've processed it. This isn't impulsive, and I'm going to accept and be okay with eating this, rather than doing it and then complaining after and having that guilt and shame. So it's just an opportunity to slow down. And then the third one is reflect. So we're not going to get it right every time. And sometimes, say you realize, okay, this didn't feel good. And then we're just going to give ourselves grace and reflect on ways we can do it better going forward. It's as simple as that. I didn't like that, or maybe next time I can do this, or I didn't think of this strategy and maybe I can input this into my toolbox. So recognize, reach into the toolbox, and reflect.
Can I add two little things quickly?
Yes,
on the reflect piece, if you have successfully done it and you have played the tape forward, or you've reached into the toolbox and you've not turned to the trigger food, congratulate yourself, like pat yourself on the back, like celebrate the wins, because with each win you get more and more confident in your ability to make the behavior change. The other thing that I particularly lean on is talking and telling somebody, like just voicing it out loud. There's this concept of, I think Ren, you taught me this, of like if you speak something out loud, if you say it, like you remove the shame from it. Like if I just ruminated on a thought of like, I really want to eat chocolate, I really want to eat chocolate, I'm gonna break my diet, I'm on 30-day reset, this is the end of the world. But instead, if I stop, I send a message to Rend, or I have a chat with my husband. We even played this forward. We were in Jamaica for our wedding, and Jamaica is weed central. And weed was a problem for me in the past, and I ended up having a conversation with him. Like, okay, but what if I did the whole play it forward thing? It turned into just a conversation, and that was super, super helpful. So yeah, I guess what I'm saying is these steps work for sure.
And what I love with what you said, it's like a Brene Brown quote that's like, shame can't exist. Or Sally, do you remember the quote?
I don't remember the exact quote, no, but yeah, I think if you bring shame to light, like it basically has no, it can't
survive if it's talked about, like, spoken to, it can't survive. Anyways, but with that as well, and I've had, we've mentioned with some people in the group that are trying to moderate their alcohol intake or what have you. And for me, I don't drink, but when I'm out, and sometimes because alcohol wasn't really my problem, it was weed, when I'm out and, everyone's drinking, and usually I have that safe person, be it like my best friend or what have you. And once I wanted to drink, so to Marianne's point, I was just like, hey, I'm having, I have a desire to drink. And it puts it where you have like someone you can trust and a support system in that, where you're no longer battling this alone, be it you pray, talk to somebody. But I think the big thing with all of this is that this isn't something that people typically talk about. We all, looks and what you see on the outside isn't the whole story. We all struggle with something. And for me, the relationship with food has been up and down, and I've been extreme and all or nothing and all of that. But all we can do is, the biggest thing is being able to admit within ourselves that something is an issue, and then taking steps to make it better. So if you're watching this recording, we're going to wrap it up, but if you're watching this recording, be it food, be it alcohol, be it marijuana, be it whatever it is that you're struggling with, please reach out. If you're not comfortable messaging it in the group, message me directly or message Marianne directly. And whatever your vice is that you're trying to work through, we're here as a team, and we'll work together to tackle it. Yeah. Any questions, Sal, Emanuela, Amber? Sally's clapping.
I gave you guys the clap emoji.
Thank you.
Love that. Any questions?
No questions from my end. It was a great presentation or talk. I think it's very widely applicable to everybody.
Yeah. And lots of different, like, work can even be an escape. You know what I mean? You can apply it to so many different things.
Yeah.
Emanuela, did you have a question or comment?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, well, we'll wrap it up here. Let me just stop the record.